A warm welcome to Anuradha Vedic Astrology. Today we are going to talk about Mercury in the third house. When Mercury, the Karaka of speech and the owner of the third house of the natural zodiac, is placed in the third house, it gives very strong results. In this episode, let's find about the results that this Mercury will give us. Now, before we begin, a big thanks to all of you for liking, sharing and subscribing to our YouTube and Spotify channels and writing in your suggestions, your comments there. If you haven't subscribed to us, please do, and do press the bell icon so that you can get the updates ASAP. The third house is the house of communication, it is the house of siblings, it is the house of creativity, it is the house of business communications, in the sense it talks about agencies, and the third house is a house of creativity. As I said, it is about the relationship one has with their siblings and the ability to take an initiative to do something. It would definitely agree with on all these prospects with Mercury, because Mercury is a planet that is said to have the Karakatva of communication. Mercury represents your ability to understand, to know something, to learn something, and also can be very intelligent. When we talk about Mercury, we know that it's a hardcore business planet, and people who want to do good business should have a good Mercury in their chart. So, keeping all these things into mind, let's talk about Mercury in the third house. When Mercury for anybody is placed in the third house, such person has great communication skills and writing skills also, because Mercury, the third house, is all about writing and creativity too. So, these people can communicate whatever they want in very nice manner, in a very jovial manner, because Mercury is a jovial planet. Again, it will depend on which house that Mercury is placed in, which sign that Mercury is placed in. If Mercury is placed in a serious sign like Scorpio, or in an enigmatic sign like Aquarius, then the communication of the person will also take color accordingly. But if it's placed in a flamboyant sign like Leo, then the person will be flamboyant in their expression, in their writing. The person will have a lot of, will use a lot of adjectives in the sentence for communication, be very vivacious with their expressions while communicating, because that is what Leo would support. In a hardcore business sign like Capricorn or Taurus, when Mercury is placed there, person would talk with a rational mind, would be very direct in making sure that his profits, be it about the agency that the person is working in, or be it about writing a book or something, the person would be very measured in the use of mercurial abilities. So, here we see that Mercury in the third house, as far as communication is concerned, will again differ from different signs to signs. When it comes to relationships with siblings, Mercury being the sibling also, and in the third house, gives a person strong relationship, a jovial relationship with siblings, and they are more of friends rather than elders or youngers, especially if that Mercury is placed in again in the sign of Aries or in the Gemini sign in the third house, or it's placed in the Libra sign, in the sign of Pisces in the third house, then the person is more friend and less of a sibling, and there is a lot of fun relationship that there is associated with that Mercury. Mercury is creativity, Mercury is knowledge, and the third house is all about creativity and courage. So, these people have a strong inclination for writing, for poetry, and these people, depending on the house that Mercury, the sign that Mercury is sitting in, For example, if Mercury is sitting in the sign of Aquarius in the 3rd house, then these people would write a lot of futuristic stuff. Now, if the 3rd house happens to be the sign of Pisces, just coming after Aquarius, you will see that the person will be very dreamy and can write fiction, very elaborate, very lovey-dovey kind of fiction very nicely, because that is the sign which talks about illusions, which talks about dream state, and can also give us a lot of fantasy. So that is about creativity. Mercury has the courage. It does not have the courage of Mars, but Mercury has courage of its own, which can also be termed as street smartness. So these people know how to handle situations and how to be right where they are, and they have a back plan going on for them, because that is the street smartness that Mercury in the 3rd house can show. And Mercury is, as I said, it's a hardcore business planet. The 3rd house is the house of communication. So Mercury knows how to communicate things in the 3rd house very well, making sure that the profits or the gains that one can have is in his or her kitty, very well there in his kitty, safe and secure. And such people can also take up agencies, because agency gives you an art of communication which they are very well versed of. If Mercury is with a planet that is associated with the houses of profession, all the more better, and in that case a person will definitely know how to work or communicate things in the best possible way and gain from that area. So while we are talking about the positivities, we also need to see the negative side of Mercury in the 3rd house. The 3rd house is a house of action, and if Mercury is afflicted, then this action turns into restlessness or anxiety, because a person is not able to take the right kind of actions in such a situation. Also, the relationships with the siblings can be a little strained. The relationship needs time and again need to be checked, and it needs to be emphasized on, because such an affliction can create rifts between siblings. Now let's take up one chart. Let's take up the chart of Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. So for Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, his Mercury is in Purvashad Nakshatra in the sign of Sagittarius. See, the Mercury is being retrograde, says that he would not talk much, but whatever he talked would be backed by a lot of facts and his internalization of things that they were, but he would make a definite point with it. Since it's with Guru, the Lord of the 3rd house itself, it will give him a strong wisdom behind anything that he spoke. What more, he was a prolific writer, and he was a poet by profession apart from being a politician, and he knew what to say, exactly what to say where. As far as his courage and smartness is concerned, we need to understand that it was in Pokhran when they did the test of the atom bomb. He was very clear what he wanted as a protection for his country, and he knew what it would all entail. But he did it very smartly till the last moment, did not let anybody know what was going to happen, and that is the reason India then became a country which could produce its own atomic weapons and gained a lot of name and fame too. So that is the smartness that I am talking about, which the Mercury in the 3rd house can show. And here, being backed by Jupiter, all the more, and there is an aspect of Saturn also on this Mercury. Another point that one really needs to understand in this chart is that because it is in Purvashad Nakshatra, as I said, Nakshatra matters, it gives him an intelligence like no one before, and it gives him a very clear, very straightforward speech. So, find out where your Mercury is sitting. If it's sitting in the 3rd house, which is the sign and which is the nakshatra, and you can deduct a lot about your speech, your writing abilities, and how you handle situations very well. Till we meet with you again, thank you.
बेल आइकन को दबाएं ताकि आपको वीडियोस की अपडेट मिलती रहे। हमारे वीडियोस को लाइक करें, शेयर करें, उन पर कमेंट करें और हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना न भूलें।